Today on the Wrestling Roundtable, the best and worst swerves and The Rock's career.
What the fuck is Wrestling Roundtable?
Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. I'm really glad to see that you're joining me because I guess you're the only ones. But I'm the host, Eric Santamaria. Been a fan of wrestling 22 years, and I've been working in wrestling almost 7. And now it seems like no one's really here, so I'm glad you're listening because today we're going to talk about The Rock's career. He's coming back at Survivor Series soon. But last time I mentioned best and worst swerves, we swerved you. Wait a minute. Oh, well, look who it is. How nice.
Whoa!
Nice hair.
Douchebag.
Well, thanks for showing up, I guess. And
Like you could have a
Thanks
shirt
for having
without
us.
us.
appropriate attire. Can you tell us what that is?
Number 94 from the U. Is it a Johnson?
I think Will Vafidas is a Johnson right about now.
Yeah.
But
Small.
we're going to talk about The Rock's career first, along with best and worst swerves. Last time we swerved you. We said we are going to do worst swerves, and then we didn't because that's the idea. And some of you didn't get the joke, and you were all upset. But
Those
we're
are
going
the
to
ex-WCW fans.
we're going to make up for that a little later on. But first, The Rock. He's coming back at Survivor Series, one of the biggest stars in wrestling. Last time we were on, we talked about wrestling's boom period. And one of the big stars of wrestling's boom period was The Rock.
The biggest.
He was right up there with Austin, kind of like his Macho Man to Austin's Hogan in some degree. But The Rock is one of the biggest names in wrestling, and he got to be that name pretty much doing his own shtick. When he first came in at Survivor Series 96 in Madison Square Garden, he was Rocky Maivia. We learned about his third generation background. His father was a wrestler on Rocky Johnson's side, and on his mother's side, Peter Maivia on the Samoan side. So he had that lineage coming in, and he was essentially pushed down everyone's throats, so to speak, and that's why people started chanting Rocky sucks. They started rejecting this do-good babyface sort of character, and then he came back after an injury from Bret Hart and joined the Nation, the black supremacist group, and said, screw all you fans. That eventually snowballed into The Rock that we know today, and it took a couple years of really evolving the character to become what he is, that shtick. So what do you think that says about letting the wrestlers be themselves? We just talked about on the last show about Zack Ryder and CM Punk, those sort of wrestlers breaking free from the writing groups that they have now telling everyone what to do and say. Do you think it says a lot comparing not just what's happened with those guys on YouTube and the internet and Rocky Maivia?
Yes, but if you had changed anything, I don't think it would have worked. You needed to believe that The Rock was angry, that you guys, hey, I was this good guy and you booed me. Well, screw you. I don't need you then. I got the Nation domination now, and they're going to help me get to where I need to be. And so he needed to be that goody two-shoes guy that got booed. That made his character that much better.
But we saw them do the opposite when they brought in not just Kurt Angle, but Randy Orton. They did that idea of the babyface who thinks he's so smug and so great and everything, and it's not sincere, and the fans reject it. That's obviously what Kurt Angle came in, but they did the same thing with Randy Orton. Now he's coming in with this blue chipper Jim Ross introduction on Raw, and he's got the RNN updates, and it was kind of like the same effect, but done on purpose. So do you think that just goes along with what we were saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to give the guys time to shine or time to fail. If they fail, that's on them. Move on to the next person. Somebody's going to step up.
I think that you really just found something that really works for him. It's not so much CM Punk where real life situations and shoot. The Rock didn't need to shoot to get over. He took a character and he took it to a whole nother level. And that's what we mean when we say letting wrestlers be themselves instead of just saying what they want and rambling. And because word shoots would only take you to a certain point. With Rock's character, he evolved over the years.
Constantly.
And he added, always evolving, always adding new catchphrases and could work with anybody. And that's what really made him great.
It's funny watching back 1999 Rock, let's say, compared to just even a couple years later in 2002 Rock. The energy level is completely different. Like, whereas in 2002, he's like, I'm going to beat you, you candy ass, and blah, 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 and I'm the most electrifying. And then 99, I was like, The Rock is the most electrifying. Like, you could see there was obvious evolution there, not even to say anything about his comeback from Hollywood in 2003 when he became like the top heel. It was funny because yet again, the fans built this resentment against him for whatever reason, and he used that.
But there was always the consistent ego trip. He was always the best. He was always better than you. And when he started referring to himself as The Rock in the third person, nobody did that. So he was something even more important, more special. He was always here, and everybody else was always here. Heel, face.
And he was still
group.
a great wrestler.
Right.
He was a great wrestler, too.
Okay, well, you said nobody did that. And I think that's part of what made Rock unique. What else made Rock unique?
He just had great athleticism and was the most charismatic wrestler probably of all time. Him and Hogan, the only two guys I really feel could just walk to the ring, do nothing, stand there, look at the crowd, and then walk back, and everybody in the whole arena's like, that's the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. And they did nothing. Him and Hogan, the only two guys I really feel have so much charisma that they could do that and pull it off.
Like when Triple H and The Undertaker tried to do that, it wasn't even close to what Hogan and The Rock accomplished
Yeah,
that one night.
he just has that presence. He has an athletic background.
The energy just oozes off of him.
Oh, yeah. He got an eyebrow over. I mean, who else could do that? He got an elbow, a simple elbow drop, turned that into a move that people
finisher.
stood
Yeah.
on their feet to see. He was just so unique and had star power that you won't see today unless it's The Rock.
The best thing about The Rock, and even Hogan, they were great on their feet and they reacted.
Improvised.
They improvised. If the fans said something that if they weren't supposed to, they weren't like, oh, well, I'm going to keep going what I was supposed to say. They turned it around, they turned it on the fans, and they went with whatever was going. If they were supposed to take 2 minutes to do a little pose down, but the fans just kept going, they went with it because it worked. They were good.
He's part of that elite group. Him, Undertaker, Hogan, and even McMahon, they really are great as heel and faces that could work with anybody else, whether it's a babyface or heel, and they're just as good in the mic and just as over.
Well, do you have a preference for face Rock or heel Rock? We keep saying it worked no matter what, but I think when he came back in 03, we saw, we liked him as a babyface, but holy shit, was this heel stuff great.
It didn't really bother me either way. He was still entertaining, still having great matches, and he still got guys. He still got guys over. He was still putting guys over. Yes, I hear what you guys saying. Yes, 03 was awesome, but at the same time, I loved him as a face. I loved him as a heel. He was great at both characters. He put guys over, so it wasn't like he was burying anybody either. He was doing everything the right way. Whether face or heel.
I would agree to a certain point. I don't think he would put Goldberg over the way that he should have.
Good.
And it's not his fault, not taking it away from him. I mean, it's the build-up. I mean, it's not his fault. He could have done, I don't know he could have done, but
Yes, he
should have done. All right, he could have.
Does
he could have done a lot
Does anybody
more.
talk about Hogan Rock 2?
No.
Say no more. And I'm not a fan of
Was it on
WrestleMania.
Raw?
See? And I'm not a fan of the WrestleMania 19 match with Austin. I know people are sentimental about it. Fine.
like it.
I think it
I
can't.
liked it.
I don't think it can touch WrestleMania 17, but that's another thing.
Well, can.
Well, maybe
That's
they
just
would.
unfair. High standards.
Best and Worst Swerves is coming up. And The Rock, when he was really starting to get over, was part of one of the biggest swerves they did at Survivor Series 98. Do you think it was the right thing to do necessarily, though? I mean, if the fans are cheering him, they're turning him face themselves. He never turned face. It was just kind of like he started splitting away from the nation, and they had D'Lo and Mark Henry turn on him when he was starting to get more cheers in the months building up to that. But was it really worthwhile turning him heel in this swerve just to have an opponent for Foley and Austin for a couple months?
Yes.
I mean, they turned him face like almost immediately after Backlash 99. They were going to go back to cheering him anyway.
If you're a really good heel, you're going to eventually start getting cheers. Because people are going to love you, eventually.
That doesn't make sense.
That's not true. No, it's good as you look at all the great heels. They start getting cheered after a while. Piper.
That may
Perfect,
be so, but
Rock,
isn't the point of a heel
Flair.
to be booed?
Yes, but I'm saying if you're so good at it, eventually people are going to start loving you for being bad. And Austin needed a heel.
Okay, fine.
Austin needed that.
Yeah.
He
I
needed
think
that
it helped
WrestleMania
bring
heel.
Mankind,
and
too.
98 Survivor Series turn was great because we didn't see it coming. It made perfect sense right after the fact. And it worked beautifully. It made Mick Foley look great.
It helped
made
solidify
Austin
the
look great.
corporation too, because
Exactly.
without The Rock, they
had the
Ken
champion.
Shamrock and Boss Man as champions and stuff like that, but they had the champion.
It never
they
would have
had
worked without the
biggest star.
WF champion on their side.
Right.
Going back to what you just said, that if you're a great heel, they're going to cheer you eventually. When The Rock came back, my favorite Rock version, the Celebrity Rock, and he was in the leather and he had the guitar and everything, people wanted to cheer him so bad, but he just always gave you a reason to go, you know what? Fuck you, you jerk off. He's that good. He like the switch. If he wants you to cheer him, you'll cheer him. If he wants you to boo him, he'll say something to make you boo him.
Well, my point was, if the fans are cheering you, they obviously want to pay for you, so I didn't think it was necessarily giving the fans what they really wanted per se, but I guess they were into it anyway. So, and I'm sure everyone disagrees with
It
me,
worked.
but you can leave your comments underneath our YouTube video. We got to move on, take a break for a second, back with more Rock's career. Welcome back to the Wrestling Roundtable. Joining our panel to my right, which is your left, is Will TLD Vafides, joining Brett Midge Simonello and Rodney LeConte, all of us fans of over 20 years, and that means we lived through Rock's entire tenure if we've been watching consistently. And what I find amazing about The Rock, and we have so many people on our Facebook page, and maybe it's my fault since I started a lot of this shit, who talk about all these black wrestlers getting titles. We want to see black wrestlers as champions and blah, blah, blah. And they're never fucking happy because they could find something, even with Mark Henry's title win. But I find amazing that The Rock, who is really half black, so like our president accounts, but he was the first black WWE champion, and that was never mentioned. Now, of course, it wasn't a moment like when Ron Simmons won it in WCW where it was really uplifting and cool. It's kind of cool in a way, though, that it wasn't brought up, that it was not even thought of his ethnicity, that he was the first black champion, even though that's what the character's motivation was for joining the black supremacist group, The Nation, which is what his music is still based on to this day. So it's cool. It's cool to see the residuals there. But The Rock, as we mentioned in 2003, came back from Hollywood, and he's been back on and off there, mostly on, ever since. So a lot of the fans were, even today, still saying, we want to see him back in WWE. He doesn't care anymore. He owes us more than that. And they're all just resentful about someone actually doing something different with their lives. So what do you guys think about the whole Hollywood thing? Does he not come back enough? Or do you... What do you think?
I mean, he owes it to come back once in a while to give something to wrestling. I mean, when he went away for a while, he only went away for a couple months. It wasn't like he was gone forever, like the second time. He's doing what he wants to do. He made himself a name. You can't blame the guy to go off and do something bigger than what he is. Right. The Rock has now become a name that is synonymous with Hollywood, wrestling, TV, every film. Is there resentment there? Absolutely, because people feel like there was betrayal.
But why?
Well,
what else does he have left to prove?
Well, but the betrayal is that he was made in WWE. If it wasn't for WWE, he would not probably be doing films or TV. That's just, of course, that's the argument.
But how long does this have to go on? No, forever?
It doesn't have to go on forever, but he's back now, and that's where I think everyone should just shut up, because he's back now. He says he's devoted. He's got a Twitter. He got a Facebook. He's still promoting the John Cena thing. He's still promoting WWE in a way, even online wise. And he's coming back to Survivor Series
for more matches than we thought.
Earlier than we thought. So to me, he's made up those years being off.
He could fuck up the next G.I. Joe movie if he gets hurt.
Exactly.
It goes back to our last show. We were talking about how everybody wants wrestling to be mainstream, but now they're getting mad at The Rock for being mainstream. He's our ticket in.
Good point.
He's one of us that went out. He's the biggest star that's ever come out of wrestling mainstream. And they're mad at him for doing it.
So essentially, instead of making Fast and the Furious and G.I. Joe, he's got to make... Is it G.I. Joe?
Yeah. G.I. Joe's coming out.
G.I. Joe, he's got to make straight to DVD releases like John Cena.
Triple H. I just think that a lot of fans are so used to these guys like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Undertaker sticking around for so long until like they're so hurt that it hurts for them to get up in the morning. He realizes that Hollywood has taken notice to his charisma, to his talent, and his just natural ability to be in front of a camera, and he's going to utilize that to build himself a brand, to make himself some good extra money on the side, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to want to take that extra step to be a movie star. I mean, we've all had this illusion that being a movie star is like the greatest thing in the world. So if you have the opportunity, why not take it?
I think that goes for everybody. I mean, if anybody of us got like a promotion somewhere saying, hey, we want your talent, but you can't do this anymore, but you're going to get paid X amount of dollars to do it, everyone's going to do it, because it's a money-making world, and it's all about promoting yourself. If someone wants your talent, someone wants your merchandise at tldwrestling.com, you will definitely go for it.
What would happen if Hogan had not done Rocky III like Vince Sr. wanted him to do?
He wouldn't be in WWE.
Well, let's move on to some of The Rock's best matches and moments. Every time we do a career retrospective type thing, we want to remember some of the good moments. So what were some of them to you?
Well, the first one is because I was live. I was there. It was WrestleMania 18 with Rock.
I'm glad you were alive for that.
Yeah, I was only alive, but I was there. And the tension, the feeling around Toronto was just amazing. You know when wrestling comes in your town. And that was...
Not just wrestling.
Not just wrestling, but...
You were watching in Florida at a Hooters, and you felt like you were there.
Yeah.
And that was the continents away.
Yeah, so, I mean, you could feel how that match, like, really was, like, a moment in wrestling history of having a young stud like The Rock and Hogan, not to mention the two biggest Hollywood names that came out of wrestling, period, facing each other.
And we never thought it was.
And never thought we would ever see that. And that to me was like one of my favorite moments. You know, even as my father was with me, who wasn't really into wrestling, but he was into.
He understood.
And he understood why that match was sent, and the emotion, the involvement, the build up. It could have been more perfect than that.
And even though I did watch it at a Hooters, that's probably one of the only times where I wish that I was with my friends around that area to watch with them and their reaction and like being able to
share
the moment with you guys. But we shared it in different states.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why the face-to-face on Raw in February 2002 to set that up was so amazing, because just the electricity, literally electricity of those two, that was one of the moments you call your friends afterwards. Holy shit, did you see that? Now, the truck after that was a little over the top, but even if they had just kept it a standard NWO beatdown with everyone hitting their finishers afterwards, which is what happens, that was a great moment too.
His interaction with Stone Cold before one of the WrestleManias, I'm not sure which. They literally took.
Well, that narrows it down.
They literally took 15, maybe even 20 minutes of them going back and forth, and they concluded it with both of them singing a duet.
That was before Survivor Series.
That was Survivor Series. That wasn't before WrestleMania.
I have an alcohol problem.
We will get you help. All right, there's a WWE wellness program.
Yes,
that was a great moment, though.
No, it wasn't, because to sell the biggest, most important event in your history, where both entities' existence are on the line, one of them's not going to exist anymore.
Both of them had belts.
They built it up by Austin and Rock singing.
Yeah,
hilarious.
It was hilarious. That was a great moment.
I liked it.
That was just, I couldn't get rid of it. They were singing Margaritaville.
Well, fine. How about this? At the pay-per-view that built that up, Survivor Series that Sunday, Vince was hyping up his team in the back of his 5 guys. I could not stop looking at The Rock. The only thing I saw was him jumping up and down the whole time. It was so ridiculous. There were a lot of great ridiculous moments The Rock had, like in 2003 when he came back with the Rock concert on Raw and he's singing the lyrics and ripping on people. Twice, right.
He did it twice.
I'm not talking about the one where he beat up Goldberg at the end, the previous
And
one.
Goldberg.
Let's move on to some of the matches. You already mentioned Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania 18. What are some others?
Triple H versus The Rock at SummerSlam in the ladder match.
98.
Yep, 98. That was another very good matchup. It really shows how the Intercontinental title really is an important belt. And when you have two guys like that of two different factions, this proves the dominance over the other. Because that's when the nation actually fell right after that. And DX still continued to rise.
Well, that match in particular really put those two who were already getting that push in the mid-card, put them over the top.
It just shows them right there how great, and like I said, another great Intercontinental match, and a ladder match at the Garden.
SummerSlam, where he made Brock Lesnar.
It's 2002 in Nassau,
Brock doesn't get enough credit for that match. Lesnar went on to be a great dominant champion after that, and that was one of the times where the fans turned on The Rock. It's New York, so
of course,
semi-predictable, but not to the rest of the country, where the fans just got behind Lesnar and Rock put him over great that night, and it was an awesome match, awesome moment.
I know you think Brock was really hitting his stride before that. I think that's where he really stepped up his game. That was his coming out party, really, because he stepped up in the main event. Rock put him over clean, as we knew he would pass the torch, and that was one of the best matches I've ever seen. I could watch it forever.
Well, before I go to the match, I have to say one of my favorite moments of The Rock was 2003 when he came back to Raw the day after No Way Out, and he cut that monster promo in Toronto, his first time being there after WrestleMania 18, and he let the crowd have it.
Mother Canuckers.
I mean, if you want how to cut a promo and how to really get fans to hate you, like, that's it. Like, that should be what wrestlers watch. But
you know what I loved that he did around that time, too? He had a match with Jeff Hardy. So you can imagine who I was cheering. And at the end, he beat Jeff Hardy on Raw. And I was thinking in my head, throw that piece of shit out of the ring. And then he picked him up and threw him out of the ring and started talking. I was like, yes, that was great. But also, right around that time, too, if you remember the Battle Royal, yes, he had a lot of interactions with the Hurricane.
Yes.
But the Battle Royal, that Booker T won to get the title shot against Triple H, he threw The Rock out. And even the heel Rock was like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, he was so selfless. He put guys over. And you mentioned the Triple H match at SummerSlam 98. I still, to this day, haven't seen the Iron Man match at Judgment Day 2000. I've heard nothing but good.
I borrowed it from you.
I know. But you probably haven't given it back. But to me, it's like, there you go. It's like the Lord of the Rings of wrestling for me. Like, I know it's long. People have said it's good. I just can't bring myself
I
to
haven't
watch
watched
it.
those either. So, you know, I haven't watched it.
Son of a bitch.
I don't have 4 hours a day to watch one movie.
I meant the Iron Man.
Oh, the Iron Man I've watched, not the Lord of the Rings.
All right.
Yeah,
But
no.
anyway, your
lost
favorite
this
match
show.
of Rock.
One of them is No Way Out 2001, where he beat Kurt Angle for the belt before going on to lose it to Stone Cold WrestleMania 17. Angle always brings out a good match, but since these two fought before, I never really had high expectations. But this one
Angle
really
beat him for the title at that previous No Mercy match
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Rikishi.
So he got his title
I
back
did it
from
for the
Angle.
Rock.
But it was just a really great match, back and forth. Rock's about to tap out, and they get him with the rock bottom. Him and Angle definitely have a great chemistry.
Now, of course, we've mentioned a lot of matches that everybody knows. Of course, WrestleMania 17, I think that's a classic too against Austin. I think that's the best match they ever had in the series that they had over the years. But of course, yeah, and there were some more obscure ones too. Like I was going to bring up Rock and Sock against Undertaker and Big Show on SmackDown in, I think, September 99 in a Buried Alive match, which I know, really, no one really remembers that, but that was good. But as far as him working with so many different people, I think one of the only good title reigns he had, because he had the title 7 times and then the WCW title 2 times. So it was really back and forth, like Rock, Mankind, Rock over the course of 1 month.
Yeah.
So if you think what happened with Alberto Del Rio this year is new, it's not. But The Rock never really had a memorable title reign, except to me. I know it was a Vengeance 3-way he won it on, but that month or so that he had it in summer of 2002, he had so many good matches. He fought Ric Flair on Raw, that was great. Obviously the Brock match in SummerSlam, but he had a match with Eddie Guerrero on Raw at that time. One night sort of feud. They had a promo to set it up earlier in the night. They had a match later on in the main event. Title defense by The Rock against Eddie Guerrero. He had another different kind of opponent. He fought guys as big as the Big Show and as small as the Cruiserweight. And he got great matches out of all of them. This match had such great counters, like the rock bottom into the arm drag that we've seen copied so many times since then. They had great chemistry together, and it makes you think, like, wow, that was so good for one night. Maybe if they had really gone full bore into this, it could have been something else. But we also mentioned Survivor Series 98, and that was a big swerve. That's where we're going to move on to this time, and yes, we will talk about it. The best and worst swerves when we come back.